Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from the Food Theorist about do you really overeat during the holidays? I have actually never noticed that. And I always just eat what I can or what I want, and then that's it. Maybe I'll snack, but doesn't everyone do that? Let's hop in and check this out.
Do you overeat during the holidays? Simple question. From spooky season to the new year, the holidays at this time get a bad rap for causing people to eat way more than they normally would. But is there actually any truth
So
to that?
people
Or,
think.
like Die Hard being a Christmas movie, is it all one big lie? Hello,
Let's
Internet!
see.
Welcome to Food Theory, the show that always fills you up. And before we even start, there's two things I need to address. One, it's not the holidays anymore. I know. But we needed to do our due diligence, okay?
Well, actually, by the time this is going up, we are getting pretty close to Valentine's Day. Actually, no, it should be the day just before Valentine's Day, if my calendar is right.
Time. It takes recovering from food comas. It takes poring over data. It takes me standing in front of one of those see-through whiteboards, rubbing my beard and going, for extended periods of time. So here we are. And two, for those of you angrily typing that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, like my boy Lee here, I think we can all at least agree that Die Hard is an amazing movie for any time of year. And if that sounds like a decent compromise, make sure to yippee-ki click that melon farming subscribe button. So here's the thing. I think the holidays get too much flack. And specifically in the sense that people tend to go into the last few months of the year with this idea that it's a given that they'll overeat and gain weight. And there are articles written every year about how to deal with potential overeating coming out before and after the holidays. Now, to be clear, overeating is something of a misnomer because it implies that there's some level that you should or shouldn't be eating at. And the fact is, every person is different and needs to take in different amounts of food. No, when I talk about overeating in this episode, I'm specifically talking about eating more than what you would normally eat, no matter how much that is in your day-to-day. But regardless, I've always wondered if this whole overeating thing is true. I mean, I'm someone that
who's doing the Augustus glute?
Loves to stuff my face with delicious foods during the holidays, but despite that, I always feel like there's a limit to how much I can eat at any point. It's not like the holidays suddenly increase the size of both the Grinch's heart and our stomach. So I set out to find out whether we truly...
Hey, guys, I know that you took the original image and just rotated, but then why didn't you also flip it as well, so you would have had a heart upside as well?
Do eat more than usual during this magical time of year. Or if it's all been a trick our minds have collectively played on us for generations. Since it's pretty much a tradition at this point for me to rope in the team to some sort of food experiment over the holidays, I decided to bring in Kai, Josiah, and Ash along on this adventure to find some answers. Kai and Ash were understandably apprehensive, but with my boyish charm and promising to name my fifth child after them should I ever have one, they hopped on board. And in order to best track everything we eat in this time, we partnered up with Yazio for this episode. In case you're not on the up and up with this app, let me tell you, Yazio is a nutrition-focused app that's been helping people develop healthy, realistic, and more importantly, sustainable eating habits. When we partnered with them late last year, I fell in love with how simple and customizable the app is. And I immediately knew I wanted to partner with them again for this episode. The basic version is awesome in and of itself, but Yazio Pro really lets you use the app to its full potential, like connecting to your fitness tracker seamlessly, tracking your progress for whatever your personal goal may be, and giving you access to over 2,500 recipes so that you never have to worry about what to cook to help further your goals. Personally, I've been having a blast exploring the smart food rating feature that analyzes the nutritional value of the foods that you input and tells you what foods are healthy or not so healthy. That way you're more informed about the foods that you may or may not want to avoid. If you're someone that's looking to start your own nutrition journey and want to track your goals, no matter what that is, make sure you use the link in my description below or use the QR code on screen now for 50% off Yazio Pro after a free 7-day trial. Thanks again to Yazio for sponsoring today's episode. And now that you're all caught up, let's get back on track. Get it? Cut. What? Wait, I did? Dang it, that was the best I had. Whatever, fine. Moving on. For this experiment, we tracked our eating habits for a week leading up to Christmas and New Year's, the week of, and a week after, so that we could see and track any changes in our eating habits, with the goal of having 2 weeks where we'd be eating normal, and that last week there to see if any of us would have any corrective dieting, meaning if we'd eat less to account for the amount we'd be eating for the festivities. Now, the important thing here was not to alter in any way what we'd eat. So while we'd be tracking our food, we'd do our best to not let that sway our decisions one way or another. And like any good experiment, I had my predictions about how things were gonna go. So here's my prediction for the next couple of weeks. I don't think that I'm gonna overeat. But what I have found anecdotally just in my lifetime is I'll hype myself up. I'll be like, oh boy, I'm gonna eat all that food, woo! And then I go and I eat it the night of, and I'm just like, after one plate, I'm done. At the end of the day, my stomach only has a finite amount of food it can hold.
Yeah,
and I don't think
everyone's
it
stomach's
magically
like that.
grows over the holidays. Josiah, on the other hand, was a lot more certain on his prediction. Dang near offended, you might say.
Do I think that I eat more than normal during the holidays? The answer is an absolutely resounding yes. And there's one reason why. Cookies.
Okay, Cookie
Okay, he is kind of right. I can respect that.
Monster, settle down there. Now, I'm someone who has historically been pretty bad at tracking my calories. And at the risk of sounding shilly, it really wasn't until I started using Yazio that I got much better about it. That's why I also roped in Kai and Ash, who are nutrition tracking veterans.
I typically
Nice.
track my food because I want to make sure I'm getting enough of different food groups, as I am doing more weightlifting and training in that regard. So that's been fun.
Dang right, Ash, get them gains.
All that being said, because I
Nice.
track my food, I feel pretty comfortable going into this experiment with there being very minimal adjustments to how much I eat during the holidays, right? I worry
would
that
make
if
sense.
someone's coming in and they haven't tracked their food on like a regular basis, then there might be some impact to how much food they eat or choose not to eat for the holidays.
Wow, way to call me out.
I don't think I'll eat more calories per se, but I do think I'm gonna have a higher volume of food intake. And that's largely because of the dishes that my family prepares for the holidays. It's a lot
Now that is one thing that would need to be pointed out, the density of the dish.
of vegetable-based side dishes. So we have the Brussels sprouts and bacon combination, we have roasted broccoli, asparagus, a lot of that. I am an absolute fiend when it comes to those dishes. It makes up most of my dinner most of the
green
time. So the food
fiend?
takes up more space on my plate, but I don't necessarily think that means it's more calories than typically, right?
That's exactly right. Pre-recorded video of Ash. The types of food drastically change the amounts of calories you're actually taking in. In fact, there's actually a list of foods that have been categorized based on how filling they are, the satiety index. Basically, a group of researchers tested a giant list of foods by feeding people fixed calorie portions and then asking them how they felt for the next 2 hours. And depending how filling each food was compared to the control item, white bread, then that cemented its place on the satiety index. Now, there were a
Nice.
lot of limitations with the study, one being the amount of foods tried. But
Weirdly enough, this is actually the main thing you need to focus on if you're trying to lose weight. You know, because it's not how much you're eating; it's just what you're eating. If you eat something that's a lot denser, then you have to eat less. You would eat less just altogether. Instead of eating more to be fuller, you just have something denser, and that does the work.
did get a decent idea of how filling certain foods are. For example, boiled
Sorry about me constantly just slipping over my tongue like that.
potatoes were the most filling food, while the least filling food was croissants. Yeah, go figure.
Oh.
But the point is, depending on what foods you're munching on, you may feel more full despite not having as many calories. That leaves us with two different but reasonable hypotheses. In the corner with me, Kai, and Ash, we don't think there'll be that big of a difference in calorie intake. And in Josiah's passionate corner, we have cookies! So let's dive right in, because what we found is astounding and could finally put to rest the famous question once and for all. And the only way to do that is through what I am affectionately calling the downfall of the four. Josiah had a unique run-up to
explain.
the holidays among the four of us.
First of all, the holidays are crazy, and so I actually ate a little bit less than I normally would before the holidays even went into effect, before I even took any time off. And so my eating habits were a little bit messed up already.
And his data shows just that. From the Monday that we started the experiment, he had days of up to quadruple digit deficits. It wasn't until the week of
wow.
Christmas that he started to reach his caloric ceiling. And even then, he did it in what's honestly a remarkable way.
One of the biggest things I noticed
How
on
did he do it?
Christmas and New Year's, and honestly even in days in between, is I was eating more, especially for those big meals, right? My Christmas Eve dinner, when I had the Feast of the Seven Fishes and the pasta and the meatballs and the...
Okay, hold the phone, Josiah. I'm officially inviting myself to your Christmas feast next year. Okay. Carry
won't
on.
take
But
part
I
of
was
that.
eating that as basically
Not the
one
fish,
meal
though.
of the day.
Not the
I
fish.
didn't really eat breakfast during that day. I didn't eat lunch. I was saving all of my hunger to eat during that big meal.
Oh, well, if that's the case, there's no way that he overate 2,200 calories
Whoa.
in one sitting? Let me be clear, I'm not judging. I'm just in awe awe at Josiah's overwhelming power. If I tried doing that, it would have ended up with chundering all over my friends and family. And his Christmas Day
disgusting.
fell into the same trap as well, with a staggering 2,386 calories eaten for his daily meal. Now, while it didn't happen
man,
again
that's
until his
thin.
New Year's Eve dinner, and even then he still had a few calories left until his limit, the days in between were where his downfall came into play, all because of a pretty interesting factor we hadn't really thought of when going into this.
It also didn't help that I was just home. I was hanging out. I was with family. And so
True.
what else is there to do but to sit down, watch some football, watch some movies, and eat food?
While Josiah only had
He's
2
right.
days of true overeating, the days between Christmas and New Year's had him getting close to his limit because there wasn't anything else to do. Everyone was gathered,
Yeah,
the food was right there,
just
and while
sitting
everyone
there.
chatted and didn't watch Die Hard, they inevitably ate the delicious food that I will definitely be eating next year. Right, Josiah? Right? Nutrition tracking expert Ash had a normal lead up to the holiday madness because of their strict routine of getting gains and taking names. It wasn't gonna take some no-name,
She's all out of
non-holiday
names.
days to phase them. It wasn't even the holiday feast that got to them, because while they did indulge a little bit more than normal, what really got them was actually what they didn't eat the day of.
I think the thing that was most interesting to me was the impact of leftovers on all of my calories.
And it
Oh.
wasn't just the leftovers, but the interesting psychological trick having them played on Ash.
I fill up my fridge with a bunch of different dishes, and then I have some great food for the next few days, right? And I want to eat
True.
the food that is more readily available and around because it's gonna go bad. That's what I reach for more often when I'm hungry.
Ash is far from alone in feeling that pressure of making sure the food doesn't go to waste. There are articles every year
That
giving
is true.
tips and recipes for what to do with common holiday leftovers so that they don't just get chucked in the trash. But with that said, Ash brought up a great point when it came to how much they didn't overeat.
I let myself have snacks and desserts and, finger pick at food if I was hungry and I wanted it, right? I still am the same person
Yeah,
with
that
my
makes
same
sense.
level of hunger. It doesn't magically change and shift around the holidays, whether it's on Christmas Day, after A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
So another one bites the dust. While overeating wasn't their downfall, the leftovers and delicious homemade foods, cookies, and other desserts were. Let's review, shall we?
All
So
right,
far,
then.
we haven't seen much overeating at all, but have seen massive alterations to usual habits, whether it's turning to food because of the social aspect of the holidays, or the
Uh-huh.
presence of leftovers taking up so much
Just gotta take
space
care of
in the
those
fridge.
leftovers.
At first glance, Kai had more days of caloric surplus than we've seen so far, but there's a lot
Ooh.
more to it than just the final number.
My mom made deviled eggs, ham, mac and cheese, a lot of delicious food. I didn't eat a bunch of it, but I ate what I would consider to be a normal amount, but because it's more calorie dense than what I normally eat, my calories definitely did jump up more than normal.
So while Kai may have eaten her
Now that would
normal
make
amount,
sense.
something she's fairly in tune with since she regularly tracks her food intake, the composition of her diet shifted. This is something that happens to most people because of the common culprits during the holiday season. We're talking ham, prime rib,
Love
dinner
ham.
rolls, casseroles, honestly, most rolls. Suddenly, she started eating more high-fat and high-sugar foods, which are more calorically dense. Fat plays a huge role in how full someone feels when they're
Look at that. Look at that just glob of fat. Disgusting.
chowing down on some holiday ham. It doesn't take up more space in your stomach or anything, but its caloric density triggers a high level of leptin release, which is a hormone that signals to your body that it's gotten a bunch of energy and can stop eating. Problem is, fat also slows down your digestion, meaning it can actually delay the release of leptin. So what this means is you can actually eat a
Oh.
lot of high-fat foods before your brain catches on to how much you've actually eaten. That's why Kai
Oh
didn't feel
my.
like she ate more than her usual, because by volume she didn't, but the switch in food she was eating is what sent her calories over the edge. So, along with the social aspect and leftovers, we can add a shift in diet to the holiday downfall.
Now that would make sense.
Now, unlike the other three, I had a pretty clear data trend in my calories. In the days leading up to the holidays, you can see that my calories steadily rose to a peak, and then in the new year started to, for the most part, drop to my normal amount. Like Kai, I had a pretty big shift in my normal macro composition, meaning
Yeah,
that
it's
my
always the
carbs,
diet.
which usually do make up about 2/3 my food intake, dropped to less than half, and my
I meant the types of food by diet.
that jumped up quite a bit. More than that, it was way less consistent than usual. What was also way less consistent consistent was my exercise. You can see that while I did have a few days of my regular exercise, more often than not, I was burning way less than usual, but my caloric intake steadily increased.
My biggest obstacle was actually all the social outings that I normally don't have. Because with all the friends and family coming back into town, I was going out constantly to restaurants for dinners and brunches and so many brunches.
And I'm not
So
complaining
much
that I have
food.
friends and family all around me, but most of the outings we had were food-centric. Like Josiah, I also had days where I'd only have one large meal, like Christmas, where I had my regular small breakfast and then had friends and family over for a ridiculous amount of pizza. But my
Oh,
downfall
yeah.
actually came in the form of liquid calories. See, I have a pretty strict rule. I don't have regular Coke during the week. I typically will drink Coke Zero during the week and only indulge
that's
on the
fine.
sweet nectar of the gods on the weekends. But for the holidays, that rule takes a massive time out. Every time I went to a restaurant,
actually
I
makes
indulged
sense.
in a Coke. Or 2. Or 3. Listen, I work hard for those Cokes, okay? Plus, what added to the count were the occasional cocktails that I would drink in moderation, never in excess. I mean, come on, it's me, guys. So there you have it. Overeating during the
okay.
holidays doesn't
You okay?
happen as much as we think or we're told. But despite not eating a surplus of calories, we all had our downfall in the form of a holiday shift in our food intake, whether it was through leftovers, through eating as a social activity, an increase in higher fat or sugar foods, or taking in more calories in liquid form. So next holiday season, if you're someone that wants to stay in tune with your nutrition using Yazio, you now know the
Oh,
pitfalls
wow.
to avoid or head straight into. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit.
Alright everyone, well that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.